Remember when Nintendo was good? This was during 2012 to 2016, when they had a cool controller, a social network, unbelievable shopping deals, and entertaining Nintendo Directs hosted by the late and great Satoru Iwata and now retired Reggie Fils-aime. It was truly the best time to be a Nintendo fan. Minus having to wait months between releases, but hey, Virtual Console. Look, it's no secret that the Wii U generation was hard for both Nintendo and its fans. The system struggled to sell, the game output was slow, and the company's profits were mostly negative, despite the 3DS doing well. As a result, Nintendo was desperate to get back in the green, which led to some pro-consumer and straight-up entertaining moves that we don't see from them at all in this Switch generation. I was inspired to discuss this topic after seeing a few creators reminisce over the deals Nintendo put out during the Wii U era, and I responded to Bo Talks Games as saying, "Sometimes I miss desperate Nintendo." Oh my. A hit tweet.
They love me.
Clearly, this is a message a lot of people resonate with, although there were still lots of folks who didn't feel the same way, understandably. So allow me to clarify. Just because I sometimes miss desperate Nintendo doesn't mean I think it was a better time. The Switch era is just objectively better all around. In this case, it's like if you left your childhood home that's a little beat up and worn down to someplace brand new that just got built. Sure, everything there is newer, shinier, and it works, but there's just something about that old place and the memories you made there that just make you feel warm and fuzzy inside every time you think about it. I'm still talking about Nintendo, right? Sure, part of me feeling this way does come from nostalgia. I bought my Wii U fresh out of high school when my responsibilities, aside from a part-time job and some city college courses, were minimal. So I had plenty of time to get soaked into my video games. While it's easier for me to look back at this time with rose-tinted glasses, I still think there were a few things Nintendo did that made them look better in their worst times. Stuff I wish they would do today. First, let's talk about those deals, because they were just too good. This might have been the first sign that Nintendo was struggling, but hey, we reaped the rewards. The first significant one I remember was the Wind Waker HD bundle, which not only dropped the price of the Wii U Deluxe set by $50, but it also came with digital copies of Wind Waker HD and the Hyrule Historia. This was just the first of many Wii U bundles Nintendo would sell, and to my knowledge, most of them cost around $300. Now, bundles like this aren't revolutionary, as quite a few Switch ones were released with free pack-in games like Mario Kart 8 and Smash Ultimate, but some of the Wii U ones were just too good, like this deluxe set with both Splatoon and Nintendo Land for $300. Still not impressed? How about Splatoon and Smash Bros for as low as $260? I've heard that was the Black Friday deal for 2015. I haven't found any specific prices for it, but even if it was $300, it still would have been a great deal. Moving on to the games. It's a common complaint that Nintendo titles almost never get deep discounts, at least lower than $35, and that's usually on Black Friday. While I don't remember if this was the case for Wii U games, I remember some of them being free if you bought Mario Kart 8. Yeah, Nintendo was so desperate that if you bought Mario Kart 8, you could redeem a Club Nintendo code to get a free game with it. And not just some random cheap game, a new first-party game. In the United States, we only had 4 to choose from: New Super Mario Bros. U, Pikmin 3, Wind Waker HD, and Less Fun Mario Party. Those lucky Europeans, however, got to choose one of these 10 games. I'm not jealous at all. This deal actually convinced me to buy Mario Kart 8, as I'm usually not interested in this franchise, let alone racing games in general, but I really wanted Pikmin 3, so it was like buying 2 games for $30 each. Speaking of that, Bayonetta 2 included the first game for free, which also happened on Switch, but you know Nintendo would never make a package this good again. You know, that Mario Kart 8 BOGO deal was actually a smart move. That game was going to be super popular anyway, so why not sweeten the deal and get more people to buy it by offering something free with it? And it must have worked, because after the game released, Wii U sales increased by a percentage of These were the best deals I could remember that were focused solely on Wii U games. But then we had Virtual Console, which is the definition of not knowing what you got till it's gone. This continued from Wii, and while not every game transferred over to Wii U Virtual Console, the ones that were could be upgraded for a small fee of $1, $1.50, $2. Okay, that was kinda lame, they should have been free. Admittedly, this service wasn't perfect on Wii U, as the emulation quality wasn't great, but I still preferred it over the Nintendo Switch Online Classic Game Library, because you didn't need to pay for Virtual Console annually. While it's nice to have a huge library of classic games on Switch with much better emulation, I don't like that they're tied to the NSO service. With Virtual Console, you could simply buy the game you wanted and keep it for as long as the servers remain up. Yeah, that's the downside to digital gaming, but I like this method a lot more than paying for a subscription. Then later on, the Wii U eShop sold digital Wii games, starting with Super Mario Galaxy 2, Punch-Out!, and the Metroid Prime trilogy for $10. Some of you will never understand how good those prices were. Even back then, the Metroid Prime trilogy never went as low as $20, let alone 10. This was only for the first week they came out, but they'd only go up to 20. And to think we'll never see prices this good again, nor see Wii or even GameCube games on NSO because... Oh, actually, that's okay, because it's a great remaster of the greatest game of all time for only $40. All of these great deals came because Nintendo was in a crisis. They needed to get on the good side of consumers in order to sell Wii U's. It was their only option. But you know what I really miss about Nintendo during this desperate era? Their showmanship. Nintendo Directs. We all froth at the mouth for them, but this wasn't always the case. They started at the end of the Wii generation, and it took some time for them to find their footing, becoming a staple during the Wii U era. But it wasn't met with a warm reception at first. Back during E3 2013, Nintendo opted out of doing a live stage show, which was standard at the time. Instead, they did a pre-recorded Nintendo Direct. The reason for this change wasn't explicitly stated, but one would assume it's cheaper to produce than a large stage show. And since Nintendo was struggling with Wii U, they undoubtedly wanted to cut down on costs any way they could. Especially after the 2012 press conference, which was just... The E3 2013 Direct was pretty safe, only having Satoru Iwata talk about some Wii U and 3DS games, but it concluded with an epic reveal of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. During this time, Nintendo also had some upcoming Wii U games playable at Best Buys nationwide, bringing the E3 experience to fans everywhere. So overall, it was a pretty good E3, but the hype was really brought on in 2014 as Nintendo collaborated with Mega 64 to tease their E3 events with an iconic sketch about Reggie Fils-aime mech. I miss these sketches with all my heart. And when it was time for the E3 digital event, everyone was shocked to see it open with a Robot Chicken sketch that had meta humor.
Come on, Reggie, give us Mother 3!
And we still don't have Mother 3, that's the most hilarious part of all. There was so much good stuff in this showcase that it caused Nintendo to be the talk of the town that E3. They would continue this format in E3 2015 with Muppets made by the Jim Henson Company, and it was just as charming, even though the show itself was mediocre thanks to lackluster game announcements. Yeah, Nintendo went hard on those two E3 shows, but the non-E3 Directs had some pretty entertaining moments, like Micro Bill, Hungry Bill, You Cannot Escape Me Bill, basically anytime Bill Trinen was targeted. As fun as these Directs could be, when you look back at them now, they're light on the one thing that matters: games. Nintendo Directs now are packed to the brim with those back to back to back. The ones during the Wii U and 3DS era didn't have nearly as many by comparison, mainly because there wasn't much third-party or indie support for either system. So Nintendo had to rely on their first-party output, which wasn't as plentiful as it is now. Nintendo Directs are much better now, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss the charm and personality of the old ones. The new Directs just have Nintendo executives introduce the show, ask what do you think every once in a while, snap, and goodbye. Why are they even there? I know a lot of people prefer the better Directs of today, but imagine if we didn't have to choose between the two styles. What if we had the same rapid-fire Directs, but with hilarious moments sprinkled in between about Bill Trinen being harassed?
Bill, you're fired.
These new directs just feel awfully corporate nowadays, with the presenters talking to us like consumers more than fans. The more I think about this, I begin to wonder if the more humorous Nintendo Directs weren't a consequence of Nintendo's desperation, but a result of Satoru Iwata's leadership. Here was a man who started as a game developer and moved to the highest position at Nintendo. Because of his background, he had an appreciation for developers and game players that frankly most CEOs might not understand. It's why he loved spotlighting game makers with Iwata Asks and gave them lengthy segments in Nintendo Directs. Along with Reggie Fils-aime, Iwata knew how to put on a show and appreciate everyone involved with Nintendo, including the fans. After his passing in 2015, the shift toward the Switch generation began, and slowly but surely, Nintendo's personality shifted as well to a more corporate nature. Successful, yes, but also kind of boring. Maybe if Iwata were still around, we'd continue having these fun showcases in Nintendo's most successful era of all time. But now the company is basically being run by the shareholders, as stated by former Nintendo developer Giles Goddard. Yeah, that sounds pretty bleak, but at the very least, we're still getting a bunch of great games from Nintendo and not live service stuff. Oh, thank God they're still creative. So that was my trip down memory lane at Nintendo's most desperate time that resulted in some insane deals and creative gaming showcases. I'm sure Bill never ate donuts again after filming this. Of course, the Switch era is still vastly superior in almost every way. I just wish Nintendo could find some of that creative charm they had in the early to mid 2000s. At the very least, give us more menu themes on Switch 2. Like, really, how hard is that?